A recent study that came out shows the legalization of same-sex marriage in the United States has been linked to a drop in suicide among teenagers. Now, let me go into this study. So basically, researchers from Johns Hopkins University said that suicide attempts among high school students had fallen by an average of 7% following the implementation of legislation that protects the LGBT community, including things like allowing same-sex marriage. Now, they said that the impact was especially significant among gay, lesbian, and bisexual teenagers, for whom the passing of same-sex marriage laws was linked to a 14% drop in suicide attempts. That is not insignificant. That is quite a big drop. Now, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, suicide is the second leading cause of death for those aged 15 to 24. So we're talking about just teenagers and young adults. Now, suicide rates, of course, are much higher among those who identify as what they call sexual minorities, people that are obviously lesbian, gay, bisexual. Now, that is, of course, higher than heterosexual students. Now, that kind of makes sense to me, right? Because, look, being a teenager was hard enough being a straight white guy. I know, right? But compared to these people, I got nothing to bitch about. Compared to somebody who's gay or bisexual or lesbian, I had nothing to bitch about. Because it's very, very difficult for people who are doing that. I couldn't imagine being gay or transgender back in high school. And remember, I was in high school not even 15 years ago. And I remember the word gay being thrown around all the time. Oh, you know, it's as an insult. Wasn't it a term of endearment? Oh, you're so gay, you're such a fag, you're homo, you know, you're a terrible person, you're queer, whatever. What are you, queer? That got thrown around all the time. And it's not even 2 decades ago. I ain't that old. But I feel old enough. But it was everywhere. I mean, one of the worst things you could be in America, in a small town, was somebody who is lesbian, gay, or bisexual. But mostly gay when it comes to males. Well, let's be honest about that. And now, that is kind of ironic because a few people that I went to school with, kind of gay. Super gay, actually. But my point is, with that whole thing, is that, look, teen suicide, and I'm very lucky that it didn't happen to anybody at our school, has actually been a serious issue in the gay community all over America. So, now, in this study, co-author Julia Raifman and colleagues focused on the impact of same-sex marriage legislation. In 2004, Massachusetts became the first U.S. state to legalize same-sex marriage, and another 36 states followed suit before the policy became federal law in June of 2015, with, of course, that momentous decision, getting rid of the Defense of Marriage Act. Now, published in the journal JAMA, Pediatrics by researchers at Johns Hopkins, Harvard, and Boston Children's Hospital, the study scrutinized data collected by the CDC as part of its youth risk behavior surveillance system. Now, this is a survey that is conducted every 2 years. Now, the team analyzed figures for more than 760,000 students collected between 1995 and 2016, with data from states that passed a same-sex marriage law examined before and after the event. An approach, the researchers say, that took into account a host of differences existing between the two different states, or I'm sorry, between the many different states. In total, the data covered about 32 of the 35 states that had passed legislation to legalize same-sex marriage by the 1st of January 2015. This was in The Guardian, so they get their dates a little weird. In my opinion, anyway. The change in the rate of suicide attempts was then compared to that seen for the 15 states that did not. The analysis revealed that in the years before same-sex marriage became legal, the self-reported rate of one or more suicide attempts among high school students across the state was on average around 8.6% per year, with the figure reaching 28.5% among those who identified as gay, lesbian, or bisexual. That is incredibly high. That is nearly a third. 28. Jesus, man. Overall, states that legalized same-sex marriage saw attempted suicide rates fall by 0.6 percentage points against states that did not, corresponding to an average drop of 7%. The effect was found to last at least 2 years after the law was passed. So, no drop in suicide attempts, however, was found in states that did not enact these laws. Now, that part, kind of important, because here you have a trend. States that still denied gay marriage had 0 drop in their suicide rates. They set a very, very high teen suicide rates. But states that allowed a same-sex marriage, that actually had a significant drop in the attempted suicide rate. So that's kind of significant. Now that trend, it seems, is largely the result of fewer suicide attempts by lesbian, gay, and bisexual teens. In states where same-sex marriage legalization was passed, suicide attempts fell by 4 percentage points on average, corresponding to a 14% drop compared to states where it was not. Rafeman said, quote, "When we do focus on LGBT adolescents, it does seem the effect is concentrated in that population." Again, makes sense. Look, laws that discriminate against gay people, of course, would increase the chance of someone in that community taking their own life. I mean, it's logic. It makes logical sense. What you're doing when you outlaw it is you're basically telling somebody, hey, that who you are, that is wrong and illegal, and you should be illegal, what you're doing. Well, that's devastating to anybody, especially a teenage person. Of course. And, you know, what it also does is it increases the stigma and the bullying that accompanies to that, leading to, of course, more harassment, more bullying, more all that stuff, and of course, more suicide, or people that end up hiding in the closet and become depressed because, look, nobody likes to hide who they are. Nobody should be forced into that closet. And unfortunately, when you outlaw same-sex marriage and you create this taboo and this culture of hatred towards people who are different, well, you're going to get that. You're going to get people who would rather hide than face this constant harassment. And that's, of course, part of that stigma. And that's, of course, also why it's important to point out that our vice president right now, he believes in something called gay reparative therapy. Now, what it does is that they use sometimes torture, like electroshock therapy, to try to cure people of their gayness. You can't cure something that's not a disease, man. And he doesn't understand it. In fact, gay reparative therapy, the people that used to run these places, some of them, they came out later and said, I'm totally gay and it doesn't work. 100% gay, it doesn't work. I know. We thought it might, no, but we were fooling ourselves. Didn't work. And so, I mean, and yet our vice president still believes in this stuff. It's insanity. But, and look, you also can't make it illegal and hope it goes away. Look, legalizing same-sex marriage could be saving lives. And if that gets rolled back, oh, that's a disastrous day. We can't go backwards on this. I mean, the reason they did do it is that, you know, you've got this 2,000-year-old book that some people really, really believe in, that is telling them that it's wrong. Now, what's funny is that Jesus says nothing about being gay. And it has, like, what? A couple of passages back in the Old Testament, which a lot of people tend to ignore the shrimp part of the Bible, but they go to the, you shall not lie with another man. That, right now, is informing policy, and it should not. That right there is what Vice President Mike Pence believes in. Most Christians don't. Most Christians right now don't care. But there is a very vocal minority of Christians who are like, yeah, deny the gays' rights. Who the fuck cares? Stay out of our lives. You want the government to stay out of our lives? Well, I want government to stay out of gay people's lives. Wouldn't that be nice? That's what I'm afraid of happening, is us going completely backwards on this whole thing. And it's going to end up hurting so many people. I mean, we've seen the suicide rates previous to the same-sex marriage ruling. That's what we're going back to. More people taking their lives because of how much society or some people in society say that we should hate these people for being different. No. No, you know what? We can't allow the beliefs of some people who believe in again, with a 2,000-year-old book or whatever book, whether it be the, Quran or whatever, or the Bible. We can't allow that book to dictate what the government does. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.